The Giro d'Italia is an annual multiple-stage bicycle race primarily held in Italy, while also starting in, or passing through, other countries. The first race was organized in 1909 to increase sales of the newspaper La Gazzetta dello Sport, and is still run by a subsidiary of that paper's owner. The race has been held annually since its first edition in 1909, except during the two world wars. As the Giro gained prominence and popularity, the race was lengthened, and the peloton expanded from primarily Italian participation to riders from all over the world. The Giro is a UCI World Tour event, which means that the teams that compete in the race are mostly UCI World teams, with some additional teams invited as wild cards. Along with the Tour de France and Vuelta a España, the Giro is one of cycling's prestigious three-week-long Grand Tours. The Giro is usually held during May, sometimes continuing into early June, while the route changes each year. The format of the race stays the same, with at least 2 time trials, and a passage through the mountains of the Alps, including the Dolomites. Like the other Grand Tours, the modern editions of the Giro d'Italia normally consist of 21 stages over a 23 or 24-day period. That includes 2 or 3 rest days. The rider with the lowest aggregate time is the leader of the general classification and wears the pink jersey. While the general classification gathers the most attention, stage wins are prestigious of themselves, and there are other contests held within the Giro. The points classification, the mountains classification for the climbers, young rider classification for the riders under the age of 25, and the team classification. The idea of the holding a bicycle race that navigated around Italy was first suggested when La Gazzetta dello Sport editor Tullio Morgagni sent a telegram to both the paper's owner, Emilio Costamagna, and cycling editor, Armando Cone, stating the need for an Italian tour. At the time, La Gazzetta's rival, Corriere della Sera, was planning on holding a bicycle race of its own. After the success they had gained from holding an automobile race, Morgagni then decided to try and hold their race before Corriere della Sera could hold theirs. But La Gazzetta lacked the money. However, after the success La Gazzetta had with creating the Giro di Lombardia and Milan-San Remo, the owner Costamagna decided to go through with the idea. Their bike race was announced on 7 August 1908 in the first page of that day's edition of La Gazzetta dello Sport. The race was to be held in May of 1909. The idea of the race was inspired by the Tour de France and the success that Lotto had gained from it. Since the organizers lacked the funds, 25,000 lire, needed to hold the race, they consulted Primo Bongrani, an accountant at the Bank Casa di Risparmio and friend of the 3 organizers. Bongrani proceeded to go around Italy asking for donations to help hold the race. Bongrani's efforts were largely successful. He had procured enough money to cover the operating costs. The money that was to be given out as prizes came from a casino in San Remo after Francesco Segurla, a former Gazzetta employee, encouraged it to contribute to the race. Even Corriere, La Gazzetta's rival, gave 3,000 lire to the race's fund. On 13 May 1909 at 2:53 a.m. 127 riders started the first Giro d'Italia at Loreto Place in Milan. The race was split into 8 stages covering 2,448 kilometers. A total of 49 riders finished, with Italian Luigi Ganna winning. Ganna won 3 individual stages and the general classification. Ganna received 5,325 lire as a winner's prize, with the last rider in the general classification receiving 300 lire. The Giro's director received only 150 lire a month, 150 lire fewer than the last-placed rider. The first Giro was won by Luigi Ganna, while Carlo Galletti won the 2 following Giros. In 1912, there was no individual classification. Instead, there was only a team classification, which was won by Team Italia. The 1912 Giro is the only time the competition has not had an individual classification. From 1914 onwards, the scoring format was changed from a points-based system to a time-based system, in which the cyclist who had the lowest aggregate time at the end of the race would win. The Giro was suspended for 4 years from 1915 to 1918. Due to the First World War, Costanti Girardengo was the winner of the first Giro after the war in 1919. The dominant figure in the 1920s was Alfredo Binda, who won his first Giro in 1925 and followed this up with another victory in 1927, in which he won 12 of the 15 stages. Victory in 1929 came courtesy of 8 successive stage wins. At the height of his dominance, Binda was called to the head office of La Gazzetta dello Sport in 1930. The newspaper accused him of ruining the race and offered him 22,000 lire to be less dominant, which he refused. Binda won 5 Giros before he was usurped as the dominant cyclist by Gino Bartali, nicknamed T.